Good evening, everyone. My name is Autumn Fox, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my book review on Lincoln's Melancholy: How Depression Challenged a President and Fueled His Greatness, by Joshua Wolf Shenk. This was published in 2005. I am more of a listener. I don't really, I retain books better if I actually just listen to them. So I actually downloaded this on Audible, and I listened to the entire book, cover to cover, every word on every page. This book is a totally different perspective on Abraham Lincoln. Generally you only hear about how, he wanted to end slavery, he wanted the Union back in the Civil War, and he just wanted everyone to get along. Well, this book explains more of his personality and why maybe he wanted everyone to get along and why he wanted everybody to fit in, because he felt like he didn't fit in. Growing up, this book states that growing up he was more predispositioned for depression. A lot of people in his family had it, and even some of his aunts and uncles were sentenced to time in a hospital. One of his relatives, that's father was a cousin to Abraham Lincoln, she was sentenced to 13 years in hospital for mental instability. It states that he had two siblings, Sarah and a younger brother. His younger brother actually died at a very young age. So, of course, this had to put a lot of pressure on Abraham Lincoln, and he was very close to his sister, and as soon as his sister she got married, and she soon became pregnant, her baby was born a stillborn, and she died shortly after. So, he didn't really have anybody. His dad moved off and married another woman, and his dad didn't ever support him in his endeavors for academics or anything like that. So, he just did not have any family support whatsoever. So he just started going off on his own, and he had a melancholy personality. With melancholy personalities, you're generally more of like a blank slate. You tend to be perfectionist, things of that sort. And a great book that I would recommend to you after reading this, or even before reading it, is Tim LaHaye, Why You Act the Way You Do. It's actually kind of a Christian-based psychological book, but it gives you a test that gives you your personality type, and there are 4, and one of the personality types is actually melancholy, and it explains more of what is meant by Lincoln being a melancholy, and with this book, I actually connected with that because I am a melancholy personality type. But throughout the book, it had some controversial aspects of it, because it talked about how Lincoln may have been a manic depressive, whereas there were times where he had suicidal thoughts publicly when Miss Rutledge supposedly, according to the town at the time, was a secret lover of his. When she passed away of typhoid fever, he did not want the rain, quote, the rain to hit her grave, and he just almost seemed to fall apart to the whole community after this, and then it also states he lived with a man that he called Speed for 4 years, and they also slept in the same bed, and there were aspects of homosexuality that were kind of drawn into this book. So those topics may be more controversial, depending on where you live, and, just the community that you're around, and it could be more geared for, older audiences, such as, 10 through 12, somewhere in there, because this book was kind of a hard read for me. There were some words that I had to, really sit back and think about what they meant from the context, or, look them up, because it has a lot of, psychology terms that are just very in-depth. But overall, I liked the book. I connected with it, and I connected with it on a personal level. And I like connecting with people on a personal level, so I felt like by me seeing Lincoln in a personal aspect and seeing who he really was, and not just what he thought whenever he was a president, much like just history teaches us today, it went more in depth of how he thinks, what he went through, and your past does have a large effect on who you are as a person. And therefore, I really enjoyed that aspect of this book, because it showed how he progressed through his past to become the man and the president that we know. One thing that I didn't like was, as I stated earlier, kind of the historical shift of the look of Lincoln, because some of the parts of the book kind of shifted and was saying that, if he didn't have depression, he may have not been the person that he was. If he didn't go through what he had to go through. I am a major believer in everything happens for a reason. But, I don't think it's right for the author to ping that onto him. Because, he had a rough life, and, he hid it. He hid it very well. And, this book kind of also touched a little bit, almost like, kind of showing how people can hide depression. Whereas I think that people should feel more open to talk about it, because even in the book, whenever he talked to Speed about things that were going on in his life, Speed kind of directed him in ways that he needed to be directed, and it just helped him, make better decisions, think more clear, and things like that. Overall, like I said, I enjoyed the book, and, what goes along with my lesson plan is, I chose 5th grade to do a lesson plan based on this topic, because the 11th social studies standard in 5th grade it talks about identifying causes of Civil War, and it also talked about, the personality of Lincoln. So I can incorporate that personality that is in this book that, was backed by tons and tons and tons of research, and documents and things of that sort, so that, I can teach my children that no matter what you come from, no matter, what kind of home life you have, no matter what you've been through or anything like that, you can overcome it, and you can even be the President of the United States. And I want my students to realize that no matter where you come from, it doesn't matter. You can be as great as you want to be, and you don't always have to be happy all the time. You don't have to fake to be happy. But overall, I hope you take the time to listen to this book through, thoroughly, like I did, and listen to the whole thing, read the whole thing, because it is a great read, but like I said, it is kind of more on the complicated side. So you may want to set aside some time where you can just kind of look things up and think about things in an in-depth way. But thank you for your time.